Hello, in this video I'm going to be taking you through the in lieu pay items in Sybiz Visipay. So I've done a lot of the preparation already, so I'll just talk you through that. So the first thing that I want to show you is just we need to add a leave type, if indeed we do want to add a new one. And here I'm just doing time in lieu. So this doesn't accrue in a normal sense as, say, your annual leave or long service leave would. It's basically earned, or the entitlement is earned as a result of some kind of service, which may not necessarily be predictable. So once I've got my leave set up, I then need to allocate that leave to the relevant staff types. So I'm just going to click into this one here, and you'll see I've got my time in lieu, and number of days is 0 because it doesn't actually accrue, as I said, along the same lines as the other leave types. So that's the first two steps. The next steps we need to do is establish our earnings pay items for the time in lieu. So we've got, I guess, two that come into play here. So we've got our time in lieu accrual, and where this is different is the actual type is in lieu. And I should just specify that even though this is in lieu, it doesn't necessarily just relate to time in lieu leave types. It could be any kind of leave that has an ad hoc kind of accrual associated with it. So, but just to keep it simple, I've allocated it to a time in lieu leave type, and so that's the pay item that we use to essentially create that entitlement or create that accrual. And then of course I've got my normal earning pay item associated with the leave of time in lieu. So this is when the leave is actually taken, so we won't worry too much about that because you'll be familiar with that with your annual leave, etc. So now let's sort of show you what is required when you go to process a pay. So I'm going to keep this nice and simple and just process a pay for one particular employee. We'll pick on Quentin down the bottom here, and I'm just going to accept the default dates. And so Quentin's been pretty busy. He's worked the 40 hours this week, but what we want to do now is add the entitlement to that extra leave through his time in lieu accrual. So we'll choose that particular pay item, and Quentin's going to be getting an extra 8 hours because he worked a public holiday, and that's the rule that we have internally. So he gets that 8-hour time in lieu accrual, and we can now process that through. So what I might do is just quickly, if you have a look at these totals here, they're actually the same, so I'll just delete the line so you'll be able to see it doesn't actually do anything to any of the totals as such. So it is merely just adding those hours as an accrual entitlement onto Quentin's pay. So I'll just put that 8 hours back and then process that through. And once that's processed through, we'll go and have a look at Quentin's record and go into the leave accruals area. And so that's just imbalances in history and leave accruals, and you'll see I actually had one that I did earlier, so, or rather Quentin's already accrued 8 hours of time in lieu prior to that particular pay, so he now has 16. And yeah, so that is the ad hoc accruals through the in lieu pay items for different kinds of leave. Thank you for watching, and thank you for choosing Sybiz.